Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jordan Elsass. You might recognize me from the show Superman and Lois. You, my friends, are watching Completed It with Andy Burrows. It's your one-stop shop for everything pop culture related. Enjoy the show. I know I sure do.
Welcome, everybody, back to yet another episode of Completed It. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and we are back finishing off our little mini DC series. We've saved the best till last. Sorry, Luke and Paul, when you're watching this. Tasmin Humphreys from the Aspiring Crypto. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. I've really enjoyed this little mini series that we've started doing. Like I said, I've had Luke, the Geek of Steel, on. He was incredible. Paul from DC World. I know they're good friends of yours. I know you've done a lot of work with them. So we wanted to get you on. The Aspiring Crypto. Tell me about this. Tell me how you found the world of DC and content creating.
Well, it's the aspiring Kryptonians. Aspiring crypto was only because I couldn't have so many characters on Twitter, sadly. But the official term is the aspiring Kryptonian, sort of the website and stuff. But I kind of started a blog which was mostly fitness, actually. So I collected Superman memorabilia for years and years, and none of my friends were really into it. So I made a blog which kind of combined that and fitness. So I would post all my new editions, you know, every week or month or however often I got stuff. And then I'd also post my workouts and stuff as well. But I just found that the Superman side of it was going better and I had more reaction with that. So I kind of focused on that and found a huge community of people that are into the same kind of thing. And it's kind of just spiraled from there, really.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on the news with your collection. I remember following you about a year or so ago, and you were tweeting it out like you might see someone you know. Has
Yeah.
it surprised you where your fandom is taking you? Because, like I said to Luke and Paul, we're just fans of the amazing franchise that is DC Comics and DC.
Yeah.
Has it even surprised you as to where your just something you like and something you hobby? I mentioned to Luke when I sat down and chat with him, he was just like, "Look, do something you enjoy and do something you like talking about, and whether it's comics, whether it's movies, whether it's sport. How have you found it all since you've started? Like you say, you started the Aspiring Kryptonian, and then all of a sudden you're doing blogs, you've got the YouTube stuff, you're doing comic book reviews, which we'll get into a little bit. How
Yeah.
have you found it all? Because it's such a since I've been interviewing everyone, and you've done some amazing things. You've met, again, I said this to the guys, you've met some of the most famous
Yeah.
people on
it's
the planet.
it's so surreal. Like, I remember when I was young, I literally wrote in my diary, my dream is to go to a film premiere. And I've been to, like, three or four of them. And it's just like, it never gets old. It's still like, so as soon as I get an email, I'm just like, ah!
Yeah.
And I don't know how to sort of respond to it. I'm just sort of sat there in awe for a little bit. But yeah, it's amazing. It's great that something that I love so much has taken me to do things that I love so much as well. Because it never feels like a chore. I could literally, like I said, you said we've only got 25, 30 minutes for this. I could sit here all day sort of talking about this kind of stuff. So it's an honor.
Yeah, I mean, what is it that like I said, I got into with the guys. How do you feel that the DC franchise is now going? Because it's kind of split opinion. We've gone through the whole Superman movies, we've gone through Batman and Superman, we've
Yeah,
gone through, and like I said to Luke, it was all about Marvel for years and years and years, and DC were kind of taking a back step. I mean, all my friends were Avengers Endgame and Avengers
yeah,
this and Avengers that,
same.
and there was me arguing, and they're like, you still think Superman's the best superhero? And I say, I found it weird. I was sitting in the middle of a pub arguing like who would win out of a fight between Iron Man and Superman. Like
Yeah.
we're grown men, and it was just
And
like,
to support that, there is an actual comic book where they fight, or some sort of fan art comic book, but Superman wins. So
ah,
I have this argument too.
of course, yeah. I've had this. I have it with the guys at work. They're like, I can't believe we've just spent 40 minutes on this. But where are you with the whole DC franchise? Obviously, we're going to get into the Superman movie that's coming out on July the 11th in a little
Yeah.
bit. But how have you found the DC franchise? Now James Gunn has really taken the DC franchise, literally bull by the horns, and he's moving it into somewhere where I think it's going to be absolutely
Yeah.
tremendous where it's going. How have you found it over the last few years? It's got a lot of grief for the Superman movies that have come out. kind of retelling the same story that we all know. Batman versus Superman and the Justice League really split opinion because it was like,
Hmm.
you're just trying to do the Avengers. And I'm like, do you know how long the Justice League has been around for
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
comics, the animated series? I'm like, long before the Avengers were even thought of,
Yeah.
they had the Justice League. Where are you with DC from where they were to where they are now?
I've always been more. I love the Marvel films as well. Like I go
Mhm.
to the cinema at midnight to watch the films and
Yeah,
everything.
likewise.
Zooming in and out. I'm not sure what's going on then, but yeah, I've always loved those sort of films. Anyway, it doesn't matter whether it's DC or Marvel. I'll sit and watch it if it's a superhero thing. But with DC, I kind of want to say I jumped on the bandwagon sort of as Superman Returns came out. So when I
Mm.
was younger, I used to watch The New Adventures with Lois and Clark, which
Oh,
is the Dean Cain Superman. Then I was introduced to Christopher Reeve, and then from then there was a huge gap where there wasn't really any Superman. There was Smallville, but I think I was too young to appreciate that when it came out. So I kind of jumped on the bandwagon at Superman Returns, and I loved Superman Returns. I went
I
to see it
did
in the
as
cinema
well.
6 or 7 times. I loved it. I trekked across the UK to meet Brandon Routh at Comic Con.
I met him at Milton Keynes Comic Con. It
Yeah,
was
I think
incredible.
I went to the same one.
There you go.
Yeah, and yeah, and from then it's kind of got better. Like we've had Man of Steel, which I loved as well. For me, I don't think DC have ever fallen off. Like everything they've put out, I've enjoyed for different reasons. Like I'm not going to
Mhm.
say they're masterpieces, but I've enjoyed lots of different aspects of it. Like Birds of Prey, there's a lot of talk about that. The Justice League thing, yes, when I first saw the Joss Whedon one, that was disappointing. But then, we got the Zack Snyder cut, so it kind of redeemed itself. But now I'm just really, really excited for what's to come. There's going to be, I feel like when people are talking about the Superman film, there's more of a buzz. And I don't remember having that when Man of Steel came out.
Do you think it's because I've touched on it there? A lot of people will speak to me about the Superman movies, and they're like, and again, I got into this with the lads and everyone I've spoke to so far since I've started doing the completed it shows. They got a little bit bored of he comes from Krypton, he lands on
Yeah,
Earth, that whole storyline. And again, I got into this with Luke and Paul, and they were kind of like, yeah, this is completely something fresh. We're not going to spend half an hour telling a story that we
yeah,
all know. Let's be honest, everyone's going to go and see this Superman's movie in July. All
yeah,
we all know the backstory. We all know it. We don't want to see him come from a planet again and land on Earth and yada yada. Do
yeah.
you think that they got kind of tied up in that a little bit too much? Because they explained it in Superman Returns and Man of Steel and
What
etc. etc.
I think it was a mix between every director that's ever sort of touched a Superman film. They wanted to put their stamp on the
Hmm.
origin story, but also I think although it might not have worked for existing fans, but for fans that had never seen a Superman film or never picked up a Superman comic, they wanted it to kind of be accessible for them, which I get. But for the people that are actually going to go see these films, like the diehard fans, it's a little bit annoying. Like we know, like you say, we know the story. But what I will say with a lot of the stories, it only kind of focuses on Jor-El,
Hmm.
whereas Man of Steel introduced Lara as well. So we got to see more of her, which I really enjoyed. So I think for me, as long as the origin story is different and shows something else that we haven't seen, I'm happy for it to be there. But obviously, James Gunn has said he's going to kind of skip the origin story because, like you said, we all know it. So yeah, I think even without that, people are still going to understand where he's from, what he's going through, because I think that's what this film's going to kind of explain.
Mm. And you're a woman close to same as me, close to my heart with comic books. I still collect comics, yes, till
Yeah,
this
me too.
day. I said on the last episode, my wife dreads the postman coming to my front door because he knows
I
that I.
actually, I hope he doesn't watch this, but I actually kind of hide some of my parcels because my mom lives down the road from me, so I get the
Oh,
parcels sent to her.
see that other half. I need to know that actually. Um, would you like to see the comic book stuff incorporated in the movies more? I know I saw an interview with James Gunn recently where he said he's kind of this has kind of got a more comic-y book feel to it, this movie that's coming out on July the
Yeah.
11th. I mean, there's so many things we've seen, obviously the death of Superman and then with Doomsday and stuff like that. They've never really gone down that route with the movies. Is there anything that you really, because you read a lot of the comic books, is there anything within the comics, within the Superman franchise that you think, how has this not been in a movie yet?
Well, Brainiac, I think, is a big one. I think they've kind of said there were plans to incorporate Brainiac in future films, but we've never actually really seen him properly. I think we did see him in Krypton, which was
Hmm.
amazing. That was a great iteration.
I
If
really
you've seen
enjoyed
that,
that. And
it was amazing.
it got canned after a season.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to see Brainiac. My favorite Superman villain is actually, I keep talking about villains, but my favorite Superman villain is Mr. Mistabilik. So I would
Yes.
love for him to be in a film. I know it. I think with this tone of film, that's a character that I can see it existing in this universe, sort of thing, and not be ridiculous. And just to talk about the Superman film a little bit, but for the 2025 one, what I love about it so far is, like, I've got a 3-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sit him in front of Man of Steel or Superman Returns, he would not bat an eyelid and he wouldn't be interested. But I showed him the trailer for this and he's already hooked. He's like, let me see it again. Let me see it again.
See,
There's
good
Superman's
parroting there.
dog.
Good parroting there, Jasmine. Well done.
But yeah, I think this is more accessible for kids, which I think is really important for Superman, especially at the minute, because with this starting a new universe, it could go anywhere. You could get, more animate. Well, we're going to get animated films, but you could get animated iterations of this character, which are more accessible to kids. For example, my kid is obsessed with Spidey and his Amazing Friends, which isn't so bad, but I would prefer for it to be a Superman or Justice League character. But
yeah, I get that.
So I'd love to see stuff like that come from this universe. That's what I want to see. But in terms of comic books, I don't think there's a particular storyline that I'd like to see, because
I liked when Lois and Superman and Lois done the Bizarro World episode.
Yeah, that was
That's
cool.
something I think, that you could touch on within, and then that
Yeah.
gives you the whole. I know Flash kind of went there with the multiverse, and it worked and it didn't work for me. It was that movie was just rushed to hell. Obviously you had they tried to get everything in one movie really quick. It didn't work. But someone like Bizarro, I think Bizarro World would be, if done right and James Gunn got his hands on it.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be incredible. I don't know about you.
Yeah. No, Bizarro is a great character as well, because in that Bizarro World series, he's so animated, and he's not necessarily, like, he's not a villain really. He's kind of just misunderstood. So yeah, I'd love to see anything. Something that has happened recently in comics that I would love to see is the Warlord saga. But I think for the tone of the James Gunn film and what we've seen so far, I don't think it's going to happen in this universe. But I would love to see that, or even like Red Sun. That's one of the first Superman comics that I ever read, stupidly, which was one of the first Superman ones I read. So I'd love to see that. That kind of has a special place in my heart as well.
Touching on the DC franchise still, the Supergirl movie is due to come out in 2026. We all know the original Supergirl movie. She's flitted in and out of TV series and movies.
Yeah.
Do you think there's added pressure for a Supergirl movie? It's always kind of you have everyone, it's iconic. You have Superman. Is there more pressure on this Supergirl movie because of the weight of the franchise with the Superman tag?
Yes and no. I think for somebody that doesn't know Supergirl as a character, like in terms of the comics, then I don't think they're gonna. The solo Supergirl thing isn't enough to push them out to go and see it. So I think having her tag alongside Superman's, she's going to be introduced in the new film before she's introduced, obviously, in hers. I think that's important because that's going to lay eggs, if you will, so people will see that character, think, I kind of like the vibe with this character, and then they'll go and see more. I think obviously people that have read the comics, people that are familiar with the character, I don't think, like, I know Supergirl is an iconic character. I know what she's capable of. I know her story. So for me, there's no pressure. I think they're going to nail it either way, and it doesn't matter whether it's attached to Superman or not. I would still go and watch it, but I know that isn't the case for a lot of people. And in some ways, some people, some Superman fans even, I've seen arguments about it, underestimate Supergirl. There's multiple times in comics where she's beaten Superman, and she's older than Superman. She's just didn't arrive as soon as he did. So I think she's got a lot to prove, I think, for a lot of people.
Do you think they missed a trick at the end of Superman and Lois by not including Supergirl?
No, because to be honest, I haven't actually finished Superman and Lois. I'm on season 3. I know.
Okay, no spoilers. I won't say anything then. But yeah, Supergirl. No, okay, right. Sorry, Supergirl.
I've seen. Okay. I've seen everything. It's right, pretty much spoiled. Don't worry. But I think Supergirl's had her time, and I think, I don't know. I think it would just push. To me, when I think of Superman and Lois, I don't even remember that it was involved in the Supergirl series. I really do think of it as a standalone thing. And I think even when Bitsy and Tyler were in the Supergirl series, I think it was for the crossovers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They are totally different characters there than what they are in this series. So it just feels totally separate to me. So I think not including Supergirl was a good move because, well, I don't know, it would have paid a nice homage to where they started, but I'm not mad that they didn't include her.
Where are you with the whole TV series thing? Obviously, Superman and Lois was the last one we had. Do you foresee a future where we might get more? Because the CW now, they're done with, they obviously had Flash, had Supergirl, had
Mm-hmm.
everything. Where are you with the future of TV with DC? I was chatting to a friend of mine. We just reviewed Mufasa, the Lion King,
Oh, yeah.
for a show. We just sat there and I asked him the question. I said, everything seems to be going down that route now. If you look onto Disney Plus, Marvel have had more
Yeah.
spin-off TV shows. Star Wars have had every spin-off TV
Yeah.
show going. Where
Literally.
are you with DC now? Is that something you hope they do more of? Has it been overdone? Superman and Lois, Supergirl, The Flash, Gotham, etc., etc. What's your opinion on the future of the TV side of DC?
Yeah, but I don't think it's been overdone because everything that we have seen have all been totally different. Like I said,
Mm,
I started on the New Adventures of Superman and Lois, which is a totally different vibe to what you get in Smallville, and it's a totally different vibe to what you get in Gotham and all those other TV series. I hope there is more because for me, I wouldn't. I know we've got Superman and Lois, but if I were to be James Gunn in his situation, I would use the TV series for characters that aren't as well known, that might not hold a standalone film. So, like he's already done, Peacemaker. That's
hmm
brilliant, a brilliant show. I'd love to see more things like that and sort of focus on the smaller characters that might not get there in film. So, for example, after we get the Superman film, you've got Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, all those characters in there. We're already going to get a Lantern series, so I can see Guy Gardner being passed on to that, perhaps. Um, but we could get a TV series of Mr. Terrific, of Hawk Girl and Hawkman. You know, there's so much
I've always wanted a
possibility.
Lex Luthor series.
Yeah, I'd watch that too. I
Like
think,
the young. I know we got him in Smallville
yeah,
as a young, but I would definitely what I'm surprised no one's ever thought about doing that.
there's pretty much every character.
Mm.
There's so many characters that haven't been introduced sort of in live action. I know a lot of them are kind of introduced little snippets and stuff, but there's so much. You could have a whole Superman family TV program. You know, it could be there's yeah there's endless possibilities of. There's so many characters that it could be and that they could use and introduce in that way. Get people to sort of fall in love with them, appreciate them a bit more, and then move them up to the film. So I think it could be a good starting point for a lot of characters that we haven't really seen in live action yet.
What are you hoping for? July the 11th, the new Superman movie comes out. I've already booked a day off work. I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go to the midnight showing, and I'm going to come home, sleep, and probably go back to see it again in the
Yeah,
afternoon. What are you hoping we get from this movie, and what do you think we'll get from this movie?
I I don't I don't really have any hopes. It sounds really bad. I think it's in safe hands. I'm not worried at all. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be a good jumping on point for everybody. It's going to be a fresh start for the character, I think. I was actually I'm not entirely familiar with David Corn Sweat, so I actually watched a few of his films recently, and even when you see him in a different role, he is Clark Kent. He is
Yeah. Do
still
you think he got
Superman.
too much backlash following on? And from obviously from the man from Henry Cavill and stuff like that. Do you think there was? I think there was too much. What happened with Henry Cavill was, in my opinion, really
Yeah,
bad. It was terrible. You know, what I mean, he gave up The Witcher and he was all ready to do more Superman stuff, and then for whatever reason, and
yeah,
that's a director's prerogative. Do you think there's been too much negativity around that issue?
yeah. I literally tweeted this. I think either yesterday or today. It must have been yesterday, but it's I was the same. So when I watched Superman Returns, I fell in love with Brandon Routh as Superman. He was great. And then when I found out he wasn't returning for a second film, I was like, who is this Henry Cavill guy? I don't like him. And then the film came out, and that, everybody there are negative things about Henry Cavill's Superman, but there is so much love for the character, and I've got so much love for his take on the character. He took Superman to a place where, even though like Christopher Reeve made you believe he could fly, but Henry Cavill made you believe that he could be real. He could be in the situation that we're in now, the environment that we're in now. So, and people did the same with Heath Ledger when he was cast as the
Agreed.
Joker,
Yes.
and
Yes.
look what he did. Like, you'll never top that Joker performance. But yeah, I think it's really unfair on David Corenswet. And I understand why people kind of are sticking up for Henry Cavill. Like you said, what happened, the whole situation is a bad one, but it's not fair on David Corenswet. He's here, he's got this brand new opportunity to play the biggest character in the world, and people are kind of, I don't know if I can swear on here, but
you can go for it.
People are shitting on him because he's been cast as a character after Henry Cavill, and it's not his decision, it's not his fault. I think people just need to, and people are saying this film looks crap, this film's crap. And I'm like, you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen a trailer
and one TV spot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think people just need to give him a chance and actually watch what he's capable of.
Do you think that's where we are with as much some movie fans though? They're like, we like what we like. I still, even now, people for me, they all say to me all the time, Christopher Reeve, Superman. I'm like,
yeah,
yes, I agree with you. He always will be the GOAT, and he will be. But if we're staying with that, then we'll never move on anywhere. We wouldn't have had Henry Cavill. We wouldn't have, I just think people sometimes are scared to evolve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because also, if you have that kind of mindset, and like, for example, there are people that are planning to boycott this film because of the Henry Cavill situation. If you do things like that, you're never going to see another Superman film again. Directors aren't going to want to touch it. Studios aren't going to want to touch it. So I think this is kind of looping back to what Lucas said previously, but I'm a fan of Superman. I love Henry Cavill. I don't know David Corenswet yet, but what I've seen him in, he's a great actor. He's obviously capable because James Gunn has selected him to be this character and the sort of face and the pinnacle of this new universe. So, we've got to have some hope.
Yeah, no, you're right. Tasman, in your opinion, what does the future for DC look like? Obviously, we've got the Superman movie coming out with this, like you mentioned, there's vast things coming out over the next 2 to 3 years. What does the future look like? And if you were doing anything with DC, what would you do with it?
Oh God. I think it looks hopeful. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of characters that we can explore. That's kind of what I want to see. I know I'm excited for a new big Superman film and a new big universe, a new Justice League, potentially, all of these things. But I want to see some of the smaller characters get a bit more limelight. Like I said, a bit more focus on the comic stories as well. So obviously James Gunn's kind of said that he's taken inspiration for this Superman film from certain comic books. The Supergirl film is based on this Woman of Tomorrow comic series, which is amazing, by the way. And I kind of want to see more of that, given the comic creators sort of the recognition that they deserve as well, because a lot of times they kind of get snubbed out and cut out. So it's nice to see that, like, Tom King has been really involved in the whole creation of the Supergirl film. I know he's been involved in Superman and stuff as well. So I like that they kind of involve the direct people that actually have been writing these stories. And if I were to do it, I would. I'd like to see Connor Kent, as in the 90s Superboy. Yes. That's one of the cosplays that I've done recently, but I haven't actually worn it out in public yet, but soon. But I love that character. I think he's great. And I think that would be a really good character to introduce to sort of younger audiences. Like, you've got Teen Titans Go with Robin and stuff. He's a character that would do really well in something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look at the end of Superman Returns, the end credit scene when they teased a bit with his son and stuff. I was like, oh man, I'm all in for this to see what that's doing. Yeah. That's the one thing I hate about a lot of comic book movies, when they change director or whatever. You'll see an end credit scene, Superman Returns.
Yeah.
And you think, can't wait now. I'm all invested. And then they go, nah, we're not doing that. And I'm like,
yeah. And I guess it's the same with the Black Adam thing, where they did come
when
back
they turned up. Yeah,
the Rock was so excited. Yeah. I remember we went to see that in the Warner Brothers office, and we got like a screening first, and we saw it, and we were all like in tears because like Henry Cavill was back, and then obviously this whole roller coaster whirlwind thing happened, and situations changed. But
what was your initial reaction when you heard about the Henry Cavill situation?
I was just really sad. I was sad for myself because I love him as Superman, but I was really sad for him because everything that he posted sort of after the Black Adam post-credit scene, I think he did a video of him saying, I'm back. And he just felt genuinely excited for what's going to come. And like we've seen all the interviews and stuff that he's done previously. He obviously cares about the character. He gets the character. So it was just a shame.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like you say, Tasman, it's in good hands. Talking about being in good hands, tell us about what you've got coming up. I know you do a lot of reviews on your Twitter page, you're obviously on YouTube, you're blogging. What have you got coming up, and where can our listeners find you?
I'm a very busy gal at the minute. I'm doing a couple of guest podcasts. So this one, I've got another one coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So look out for that one. Um, I have a Superman website where I post all the news that are coming out, comment reviews, like you said, and all that sort of stuff. So we do that every week. And then I'm also on social media. It's the Aspiring Kryptonian on everything apart from Twitter, which is, X, which
Elon
is
Musk.
Aspiring Crypto. Um, but other than that, I'm sort of focusing on YouTube this year. So I'm going to be doing a lot more YouTube content as I put my own Superman museum back together because we've just moved house. So yeah, there's a lot to come.
Honestly, I said this to Luke, I said this to Paul. You guys, what you do is incredible. Followed you, all three of you, for a while now on social media, on X, on Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days. I think it's incredible. So keep up the
Thank
great
you.
work. Honestly, you're doing great things. I'm meeting up with Paul actually in a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
I'm headed down to the Geek Garage to go
Nice.
and to catch up with him. So I hope to catch up with yourself sometime throughout
Yeah.
2025. I'm heading down to Portsmouth Comic Con, I think, to meet up with Luke and a few others.
Yeah,
But
nice.
yeah, you're doing some great things, my friend. Keep
Thank
doing what
you.
you're doing. It's so good to see
Appreciate it.
someone with your passion and like Luke said, just if you've got something that you love, go and talk about it, go and
And
blog
it's
about
just
it, go
nice to
and
have a community of people that care about the same thing as what you do as well. Because no offense to my friends, like where I live, I love them all, but they're not interested in
oh
Superman.
yeah,
They're
I've got a
interested
couple.
in
I'm the
comics.
same. I've got a couple that like watch this and they're like, oh, I loved your interview, what you're doing.
Yeah,
But a lot of my mates, if it ain't football, we're not talking about it. I'm just
yeah.
like, well, I
So
love.
it's nice to have a group of people or like a community of people that I can actually share that kind of stuff with. And also, I think I know we've kind of touched on this already, but my favorite thing about it is getting to speak, like meet some of the people that are behind it, speak to
Mhm.
the creators. Like I used to have a podcast as well, and we did a lot of interviews with comic writers and artists and stuff. So it's amazing, and it's nice for them to get involved too.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting down with people that in the next coming weeks, we've got people that were involved in the Thundercats cartoon.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. We're meeting the guy that played Raphael is coming. I sat down with Tim Russ last week, who played Tuvok in Star Trek. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's such good fun to do this kind of thing. So yeah, Tasman, I wish you all the luck in the world. I know you're super
thank you.
busy. You're a mum as well, so that's juggling
Yeah,
that is never easy. But keep
yeah.
hiding the comic books at your mum's house. No one will tell anyone. Don't worry.
I
We
was trying
won't.
to hide him from my son as well because he's named after Superman, so he obviously thinks everything with Superman's name on it
It's
is
him. It's him.
his. I'm
That's
like,
all.
no, no,
No,
no.
you can't open that. It must be fun at Christmas. But Tasmin,
Yeah,
thanks so much, and I'll
no
catch you.
problem.
I'll catch up with you soon. If you
Yeah,
want to check
my
us out
pleasure.
on social media, you can check us out on X at Completed It Pod. You can also find us on YouTube, where all our content is. But till next time, everybody, stay safe.